You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. And be sure to smash that like button. I mean, the most massive recruiting story, I don't even think it's here locally. I think it's anywhere nationally. It's all the chatter about Bryce Underwood from Michigan, the LSU commit, who is now being pursued more heavily by the defending champ and in-state Michigan Wolverines. EJ Holland covers Michigan for On3, the Wolverine, and he's good enough to join us now for a couple minutes. Give us the Big Blue perspective. Hey, EJ, we appreciate it, man. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. Let me start with a big picture question, and then we'll go more nuanced. Bryce Underwood, the Michigan angle, what's your big picture perspective on what's going on here?
Yeah, it's an interesting situation. I mean, Bryce Underwood has been committed to LSU for basically a year. All signs pointed to him being extremely happy with that commitment. He has a great relationship with Joe Sloan and Brian Kelly, and on top of that, LSU has done a great job from the NIL perspective. Michigan, was in the mix for Bryce Underwood early on, but at the same time, it always seemed like he had a wandering eye towards the South. For those of you who don't know, Bryce is from the state of Michigan, about 30 minutes from Ann Arbor. And, I think Michigan kind of started to feel pessimistic there around November of last year, so they ended up taking a commitment from Carter Smith out of Florida. And there was no real movement between Michigan and Underwood until here recently. Michigan hasn't really been proactive with NIL, but they recently changed their approach. I think desperate times call for desperate measures. If you watch Michigan football this year, the quarterback situation is not good. And therefore, I think people around the program got restless, decided to make a big push for Underwood, and we're kind of seeing where things go from there.
Why now? You talked about it a little bit, but to go a little deeper, why Underwood now, like just now in the last month or so? And maybe a better way to ask it, EJ, has this been spurned by the Portnoy owners, the boosters pushing for this?
Yeah, so like I said, I think it's desperate times call for desperate measures. You see the quarterback situation. You see that this team can't have success without better quarterback play. And, I mean, Underwood is right in your backyard. He's the number one ranked recruit in America, regardless of position. And Sharon Moore, he's a guy that's been an assistant on this staff for a while. He was at Central Michigan before his time at Michigan, so he knows a lot of people around Underwood's camp. So there's familiarity there. Underwood, I believe, visited Michigan a dozen times during his process, and most of those visits came as a younger prospect. But still, I mean, there's a lot of familiarity with Underwood being more of a local prospect. And I think, the boosters just kind of are sick of seeing this quarterback play, and they want a legitimate answer for next year. I mean, even if Michigan isn't able to flip Bryce Underwood, they're going to have to go deep into the portal. And I think that's where Portnoy comes in. This movement with Underwood, from what I have been able to gather, doesn't have to do with Portnoy. Now, the Portnoy money is real. I think if they go the portal route, he'll be involved. But there's a different group of just boosters that want to see Underwood at Michigan. They feel like he is the solution. And Moore, again, has always had a great relationship with those around Underwood, so they're trying this last attempt here before signing it.
Boy, it just seems odd that, EJ, and this is just not being there, right? I think the word is that maybe the last time Underwood visited campus was July of 2023. You correct me if that's wrong, but why this gap, say, from the time, I don't know, that just in the last year that maybe the staff wasn't continuing to push for Bryce Underwood here until of late?
Well, I mean, I think, like I said, things kind of changed with the NIL situation. That's not something that Michigan really participated in. And when Underwood committed to LSU, Jim Harbaugh was still the head coach at Michigan. And a big thing Harbaugh preached was transformational over transactional. He didn't really want Michigan to get involved in these NIL wars, which is going to happen often for the number one player in America in this age, right? So, I don't think Michigan wanted to participate in it. They took Carter Smith, who just decommitted, before Underwood made his decision. They were content going the Carter Smith route and possibly looking at a transfer portal had this, quarterback situation gone like it has gone this season. So, I think the combination of just the poor quarterback play, the switch maybe in philosophy a little bit from Harbaugh to Moore, and just, some restless boosters kind of created the storm for Michigan to go all in on Bryce Underwood.
EJ Holland is with us, Michigan recruiting insider there for the Wolverine, part of the On3 network. He's at EJ Holland on 3 if you want to give him a follow. Can you tell us more about Michigan's NIL offer?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to put the details out there, but, they have a substantial offer on the plate, multiple millions of dollars. There was a report from On3 National that the offer was around or north of $5 million. I actually think it's a little bit more than that. I wouldn't be surprised if LSU has an offer out more than that. I think these two programs, or at least those around these two programs, are willing to swing for the fences and continuing to counter each other. I think where LSU might have the advantage aside from NIL is just the fact that, again, Bryce has always had a wandering eye for the South. He had every opportunity to stay home and commit to Michigan before this, recent NIL battle. Again, the relationship with Joe Sloan is super strong. He loves the pass-happy offense that LSU has. So, and he just likes the culture down in Baton Rouge. I'm not sure that he's completely sold on Michigan's development of quarterbacks or the offense, but obviously he would have an opportunity to come in and start as a true freshman at Michigan. He would be the best quarterback in the room right now. There's a chance Nussmeier comes back for LSU, so maybe that becomes a little bit more appealing. So there are some outside factors that could work in favor for LSU. A lot of them that could work in favor for LSU, maybe a few that could work in favor for Michigan. But at the end of the day, I think the most important factor is NIL, and it'll be interesting to see who comes up with the more significant offer by the time we reach signing day.
Just to clarify, do you think ultimately the deciding factor will be the highest bidder?
Yeah, it's tough to say that. I do think this is more of a transactional recruitment. So, for me, it doesn't really matter if Underwood comes back to Michigan for a visit. Who cares? He's already been to Michigan in the past,
Sure.
There's nothing else he can really learn about Michigan. It's more so how much money can he get out of Michigan, in my opinion. And that's not really a knock on the kid. He's just in that position, which is great for him. I think, like I said, the other factors might weigh in if the NIL deals are very close. If we get to a point where signing day is December 4th, if we're at Thanksgiving and the NIL deals are both very close in dollar amount, then, some of the other factors might give one school the advantage over the other.
The Carter Smith decommitment from Michigan, what did you make of that?
Yeah, that was really interesting. I was in communication with Carter and his family. I've really grown close to the Smith family throughout this process. Great people. I thought they were great fits at Michigan, but I just don't think they like the way the situation was handled. Carter gave his commitment back in November. He helped build this class. I mean, he's literally been committed for almost a year as well. So, he had a lot of pride in being part of Michigan's class and helping recruit some of the other kids in the class. He even had a big Michigan license plate driving around Southwest Florida. He was all in on Michigan. And then, again, at the time, Michigan preached, transformational over transactional. So Smith really bought into that, and then for Michigan to start taking the NIL angle with Bryce Underwood, I just don't think it's that well. And, Smith is a competitor. I don't think he was afraid to compete with Bryce Underwood, but if you're paying millions of dollars to someone, it's not really a fair fight, right? You're going to start the guy you're paying millions of dollars to, and I think that was a big concern of his.
Last thing, I don't know if you've put in a prediction or if I'm sure you've given it much thought. I'm sure you're asked about it every day. How do you think this ends up with Bryce Underwood?
Man, if I had to pick today, I would say he sticks with LSU. I don't know if the dollar gap between Michigan and LSU will be significant enough to where those other factors that I mentioned, the quarterback development, the Sloan relationship, Sloan's going to be at his game this week, the offense, I don't know if, and just the culture fit, I don't know if those factors will be pushed to the side if the NIL, difference isn't significant. So I'm sure Michigan will try to push as much as it can. I'm sure they'll try to raise as much money as possible, but will there be that significant of a gap to where these other factors don't really matter? I'm not sure. I would put my confidence level for Michigan at about 35% maybe is what I would be comfortable with right now.
EJ Holland, he's on Twitter, X at EJ Holland on 3. Give him a follow. On 3, the Wolverine covering Michigan. Hey, man, appreciate some time or for the insight today. Thank you so much.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.